Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm up with the third video from the Harry Potter series, the book summary series. And if you still haven't checked out the first and second videos, the link will be in the description for you to watch. So coming to the third book, my absolute favorite book, my most favorite book from the entire Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And I just love this cover as well, mostly because it's on my favorite color, a variation of my favorite color. So on the cover, we can see Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban written. Here we have Harry Potter himself casting his Patronus, which is driving away few Dementors. And I will come to what's a Patronus and Dementor later in this video. At the back, we have the Night Bus, which also I will be coming to. All in all, this is a very exciting book and it's my favorite book. So let's get started. So Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So I'll just give you a brief outline of what this book is about. So a notorious mass murderer, Sirius Black, is on the run and his next target is Harry, according to few wizards, and he is chasing down Harry to murder him, and there is a big story behind this, and Harry has to keep himself out of trouble in his third year at Hogwarts. And not only the wizards but also the muggles, the non-magical people, are aware of this mass murderer, but of course they don't know that it is Sirius, and they have been told that this mass murderer is carrying a gun, which is a dangerous weapon. So this book starts with Harry very eager and excited for his third year at Hogwarts. He had a rough year last year, having to come face to face with the past self of Lord Voldemort, Tom Marvolo Riddle, and eventually destroying his memory, the diary in which he was stored. So he had a very rough year last year, and he is looking forward to having a good time this year and somehow staying out of trouble. So we see Harry's uncle, Vernon's sister for the very first time, who is Marge, and Harry is forced to call him Aunt, though he does not have any blood relation with Aunt Marge. And she is very unlikely the Dursleys. Of course, she is not kind to Harry. Unlikely doesn't mean that she is somehow sweet to Harry and not rude or anything. She is a person who would like to have Harry in front of her all the time and disrespect or insult him in any way possible, unlike the Dursleys, who like to ignore Harry, and Harry is better suited to his ignorant lifestyle. So Aunt Marge comes to Uncle Vernon's house, and also the students from Hogwarts at third year are allowed to go to a wizarding village, Hogsmeade. But the only problem in Harry's part is that he needs the Hogsmeade going form signed by his guardian or parent. Unfortunately, both his parents are dead, and he stays with the Dursleys. So one of the Dursleys, not Dudley of course, his aunt or uncle, have to sign it for him. But since the Dursleys like to keep themselves out from all kind of magic they can come into, they don't really get it. And when Aunt Marge comes, Harry asks Vernon to sign the form, and Vernon says that he will only do it if he respects and has a good time with Marge, which means that try as much to not put out his original personality of being a wizard. So things were going well every time, like how Marge insulted and disrespected Harry, she did the same thing this time. And there were many brief stories in the between, like how Marge mistreated her previously and pampered Dudley like everyone else did. So on the last day of Marge's stay, Harry has been told by Marge some words about his mom and dad, and they were very insulting. And as we all know, when a wizard is unable to control or has a strong emotion, he or she bubbles up and cannot control the magic. So Harry unknowingly, and of course not willingly, blew up Aunt Marge, and she was flying through the privet drive, and of course later on she had to be obliviated. And then Harry sees that last year Dobby had performed magic at his home, and he had received a letter from the Ministry of Magic saying that underage wizards aren't allowed to do magic outside, and they did it in front of a muggle, in a muggle presence. So Harry thought he would be expelled from Hogwarts, so he packed his trunk and just straight went out of Privet Drive and wasn't scared to do any more more magic for survival, because he also had lots of plans how to save his wand, like how Hagrid did by putting his wand into a pink umbrella, and he decided what to do. And he came out. At that time, he spotted a black dogs watching him, which of course he was very frightened and was taken aback when he saw it for the first time. And then for the very first time, the night bus, which we had on the cover at the back side of the book, comes into the entry. So the night bus comes in, and Harry is shocked to see a wizarding bus in the middle of the Privet Drive, where the place is the most unlikely place for wizarding things to happen. And then there's a conductor, Stan Shunpike, who introduces himself as the conductor of the night bus, and also he says that night bus comes for the rescue of any stranded witch or wizard. So since Harry is a stranded wizard in this case, he goes into the night bus, and then he goes into Diagon Alley. And when he reaches Diagon Alley, and throughout this process he keeps his name a secret by going through the identity of Neville Longbottom, who was a fellow third year at Harry's school at Hogwarts and was one of his friends. So on reaching Diagon Alley, he's approached by the Minister of Magic himself, Cornelius Fudge, and Harry is really shocked to see that the Minister isn't angry or anything at him for having blown up his aunt. So the Minister then tells him that Aunt Marge had to be obliterated because she cannot remember anything about the visiting world, because it breaks the statute of secrecy. So then Harry has some time at Hogwarts, since he leaves Privet Drive before 1st September, the day the students boarded the Hogwarts Express. He spends the rest of his time at the Leaky Cauldron, which is the entrance to the Diagon Alley and also a hotel, and he stays there for the rest of his holidays. At the end of his holidays, he is accompanied by his friends Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, best friends in fact, and this time Hermione is not alone because she has adopted a pet, a cat named Crookshanks, and she's a ginger cat who is always chasing Scabbers in any way possible. And also one more thing to note was Scabbers looked very sick and worn off, and that's why when Ron had gone to the pet shop for getting him checked, that's when Crookshanks came, and Hermione thought she was a poor little cat whom no one wanted, and so Hermione adopted Crookshanks. And then they go and board the Hogwarts Express. Before all this happened, Harry has come over Sirius Black being loose and knows that he's a dangerous mass murderer. And he also is told by Arthur Weasley, who lets in some secret information to Harry, and he's not supposed to do that since the Ministry of Magic has prohibited him from doing so. But since he cares for Harry like his own son, he lets him know that Sirius Black is behind Harry, and Sirius Black was Lord Voldemort's biggest supporter. He was one of his biggest supporter and is there to hunt down Harry and wants to finish the job which Lord Voldemort did by killing Harry. And he also makes Harry to promise that Harry won't go looking around for Sirius Black for any kind of revenge or anything. And Harry then just says, why would I go behind a mass murderer? Unless he comes and attacks me, I would want to keep myself safe, of course. So then they board the Hogwarts Express, and while going in the Hogwarts Express, they meet Professor R.J. Lupin, who is Remus Lupin. And since all the compartments were full, they had to sit in a compartment where Professor Lupin was sleeping. And then they both were talking about it, and Harry told Ron and Weasley what Mr. Weasley had warned Harry about. And then after that, all of a sudden the train stops and everything gets icy cold with frosts all around, and then comes in a feeling such that you will never be happy again. And for the very first time in the Harry Potter series, we get to know of these vicious dark creatures called Dementors who guard the wizard prison of Azkaban, from where Sirius Black has escaped. So Harry's soul is being sucked out by the Dementors, and while doing so, since he does not know any advanced magic to send the Dementors away, he is helpless and he goes into a fit, where he's rescued by Professor Remus Lupin himself. and then the Dementors flee away because he tries and casts his Patronus, not in a full form. And then when Harry wakes up, he asks Ron and Hermione how they felt about it. Ron and Hermione replied that they felt as they would never be happy again, but Harry was the only one on train to have a fit. And this was noticed by Draco Malfoy, who is the school bully, and this would be a great topic later on. So then Harry heads for Hogwarts, and there Professor Lupin gives him some chocolate on train, saying that he will feel better. And that's when Harry goes back to Hogwarts and he watches the sorting for the very first time, since he missed it last year because of his dramatic entry in a flying car. And then on the in the table, Draco Malfoy tries and bullies Harry in any way possible, and Hermione's just like, show off, Malfoy. And then Harry's visited by Madame Pomfrey, who says that what happened, and suddenly, since no one else had a fit or was as terrified as Harry, Harry did not want that special kind of attention from Madame Pomfrey because people would think he is weak, but he wasn't. So Madame Pomfrey gives him some chocolate, and Harry tells that he's already eaten it, and then Madame Pomfrey asks who gave him, and he says Professor Lupin. So Madame Pomfrey then agrees that finally Hogwarts has got a decent defense against the dark arts teacher. So Professor Lupin is the new defense against the dark arts teacher. As we know, last year Gilderoy Lockhart was the dark arts teacher, defense against the dark arts teacher. So he was an absolute mess, and before that there was Professor Quirrell, who was in fact bearing Lord Voldemort's body in himself. So this was like a proper defense against the dark arts teacher. Then also there's a surprise here. Hagrid has been made the care of magical creatures teacher. Hagrid is a person who had been expelled in his third year at Hogwarts because of a crime he did not commit. And last year, Harry, Ron and Hermione had freed him from the false charges and also claimed who had done it actually. The actual culprit was Tom Marvolo or Riddle. So Hagrid had become the care of magical creatures teacher because Hagrid was exceptionally well with creatures, and that's why he would be a fantastic teacher. So a new school year for Harry starts, and there are new subjects which come in like divination, arithmancy, ancient runes, and to Harry and Ron's surprise, Hermione has taken up all the subjects possible from Muggle studies to divination, and they take a look at her timetable and see that she's got 2 classes at once. And Ron asks Hermione that how is she going to attend 2 classes at once? How can she be at 2 places at once? Where Hermione says that how can a person be at 2 places at once? Stop asking stupid question, and she goes away. So that's how their school starts, and coming to the lessons, portions was being exceptionally bad like every year because Snape was back to his bad mood because Snape targeted the defense against the dark arts teacher job every time since he fancied it but never got his hands on it, just like this time. And Snape particularly did not like Remus like he liked the other 2 teachers. Of course, he did not like the other 2 as well, but he had a different kind of feeling towards Remus due to a very different reason. So, and then coming to defense against the dark arts, there's a boggart here, there's a whole boggart scene which I wouldn't like to get into the details, that would be too spoiling, and every other subject were going on well. Care of magical creatures, on the very first lesson, Harry was introduced to a creature called Hippogriff, which is a horse-like, eagle-like creature, and they're extremely proud creatures. And to say Hagrid did a very good job, and Harry was the first person who did not want to volunteer but somehow volunteered. You will know why or how he volunteered, and he flew on Buckbeak. And then there was Draco Malfoy, who thought that since Harry Potter did it, it wasn't a difficult thing. So he himself wanted to try it out. And after he did that, since I told you before, hippogriffs are very proud creatures and they cannot be insulted or shouldn't be insulted in any way possible, Draco Malfoy called him a bloody chicken, and he got his hand pierced by Buckbeak, the name of the hippogriff, and he also told Hagrid that he would get fired from his work. So that's where the main story revolving the main plot of the book or movie kicks in or starts, because Hagrid goes to the court to save himself or Buckbeak from getting either executed or fired. And now divination. Divination is a subject where Professor Trelawney, the divination teacher, always kind of predicted Harry's death in any way possible. When they were doing the tea leaf reading, she spotted the Grim and told Harry he would die very soon. And in palmistry, crystal ball gazing, everywhere she just saw Harry's death. And Hermione was keeping up with all her classes, and Ron was extremely shocked to see this because Ron kept a check on his fellow classmates who attended the other classes, which he did not, and they told that Hermione was attending all the classes. So this was a different mystery going on in all. But one day, so as I told you, Harry was not allowed to go to Hogsmeade because he did not get his form signed by Vernon Dursley. He in fact asked Professor McGonagall to sign it for him since she is the head of the house, but she refuses to do so because it has to be done by a parent or guardian. And that's where, for the very first time, we get a glimpse into the Marauders map. The Marauders are Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs, whom I will reveal their identities later. So they have created a map which has a live account of every person moving around Hogwarts and has secret passageways to sneak out of the palace. So Fred and George Weasley, the troublemakers and Ron's older brothers as well, gives the map to Harry and says that they know all the secret passages by heart and they do not need it anymore now. So Harry is the new owner of the Marauders map, and that's how he sneaks out and goes into Hogsmeade and goes and surprises Hermione. Hermione, who is always sticking to rules, of course disapproves of it, and Ron thinks why didn't Fred and George give it to him before, since he was his brother. And one visit to Hogsmeade, Harry gets to know that Sirius Black, he eavesdropped into a conversation that Sirius Black was his godfather, and he was the person who betrayed Lily and James, Harry's parents, and passed on information to Lord Voldemort where they were hiding so that he could come and kill. And now Harry really wanted to go to Sirius Black because he seeked revenge. He wanted to kill the person who betrayed his parents very badly. So that's where another main part, the major part of the book kicks in. So Harry comes back, and surprisingly there has been an attack on the Fat Lady, the portrait which used to guard the entrance into the Gryffindor common room, and she says that this attack has been done by Sirius. So everything starts searching. Ron in fact is also attacked by Sirius, which people don't know why. Many claimed Ron was faking it to get attention, but Ron was in fact telling the truth because Sirius had attacked him. Now Harry also seemed to have come across this black dog I was talking at the very beginning of the video, and Hermione's cat Crookshanks was chasing it. So since I told you Crookshanks is always behind Scabbers than any other rat, so one day eventually Ron was of course very scared of Crookshanks to kill his own rat, and Ron and Hermione always had a row about it. So one day what happened, Crookshanks mysteriously disappeared from Ron's dormitory, and there were blood stains on his bedsheet. And Ron put the whole blame to Hermione's cat Crookshanks for killing, and Hermione told the thing which is most obvious, that he is a cat, so he will chase a rat. And after that what happens, it is the day for Buckbeak's execution. The hippogriff, who he did not mean to attack Draco. Draco had offended him, and Hagrid did not get fired, but Hagrid is extremely sad because a hippogriff will have to get executed. So it is the date of Buckbeak's execution, and Harry, Ron and Hermione sneak off the palace so that Harry can have a final glimpse of the hippogriff he once rode. And after that, things take a very unlikely turn of events which lead them to a very different place. So they go to Hagrid, where they in fact find Scabbers again, and Scabbers is given to Ron back again, but this time Scabbers seemed very mad and tried to get away from Ron whenever possible. So then Dumbledore, Cornelius Fudge and the Executioner come in to execute Buckbeak, and Ron, Hermione and Harry run away from there and see Buckbeak being executed. But after that, Ron's pet, Scabbers, starts acting mad and bites his finger and eventually runs away. That time, this black dog comes in and pulls Ron because he was holding Scabbers into the Whomping Willow where Harry and Ron's car had crashed last time, and Hermione and Harry get into the Whomping Willow. Once they get into the Whomping Willow, they are led to the Shrieking Shack, which is believed to be the most haunted building in the entire Britain. So there, Ron is severely wounded and injured and tells Harry, Ron and Hermione that he is not a dog, it was a trap and he is an animagus. So an animagus is basically a witch or wizard who can transform themselves into animals at their own will. So, the dog revealed to be Sirius Black, the mass murderer who was on loose. Now, Harry had this instinct to go and kill him because Sirius Black betrayed his parents. And then comes in Lupin, who saves Sirius Black and disarms Harry, Ron and Hermione. And Hermione comes up with this whole theory and the revelation that she trusted Lupin, but Lupin was not of her trust because Lupin was actually a werewolf. A werewolf is a person who turns into a wolf every full moon night because the person has been bitten by a wolf or a werewolf. And in this case, Remus was a werewolf. And Hermione revealed it to Ron and Harry, who were extremely shocked as well. And now Sirius wanted to commit a murder, but then Harry's friends stand up and tell him that if you have to kill Harry, you have to kill us as well. But Sirius then reveals, why would I kill Harry? He is my best friend's son. So here comes in James Potter was Sirius Black's best friend. And the marauders were actually James, Remus, Sirius, and Peter. Now, who is this Peter Pettigrew? Peter Pettigrew is also an animagus who is in fact Ron's pet Scabbers. And Peter Pettigrew was the actual person who leaked information to Lord Voldemort about where James and Lily were hiding so that Lord Voldemort could go and finish them off. Now, Peter Pettigrew is transformed back into his own self, and Ron is very shocked to see that he was having a man as his pet for all these years, and Sirius wants to finish him off as soon as possible. But then he is stopped by Remus and Harry, saying that you cannot commit a murder, you would be sent back to Azkaban. But Sirius was actually determined to commit it because he thought that nothing could stop him from taking revenge because of his best friend and his wife's death. And Lily was in fact a very good friend of Sirius himself. So there comes in Snape, who wants to take the reward for catching Sirius Black because Sirius Black has a great, a big prize reward on him if any wizard who can catch him. And that's where Harry attacks Snape. And then Harry decides to go away with Peter Pettigrew, hand him over to the Ministry so that Sirius is cleared of all charges he had against him. But unfortunately, when they get out of the Whomping Willow, it is a full moon night and Remus transforms into a werewolf, and that's where Peter Pettigrew runs away, transforming into a rat again, and Sirius Black goes behind Remus, and Harry follows Sirius, and they eventually reach the lake where Ron is severely wounded, as I told you, and is left there, and Harry, Hermione and Sirius are approached by Dementors, and Harry knew an anti-spell to repel the Dementors, which was taught to him by Remus because of few events which happened before, and he could not do it successfully. But then he sees a person who looks very similar to Harry's father, and Harry is convinced that it is his father, casts a Patronus. It was a full-grown animal, a Patronus, how it is supposed to be as Remus described to him. And the Dementors go away, and then everything's black. And after that, Harry wakes up in the hospital wing with Ron on one of his side and Hermione there. And then he can hear this conversation from the Minister of Magic saying to Severus that Severus is the first name of Snape, his actual name, saying that Severus did a very good job and might get the Order of Merlin, which is an honorary award, like a great award. And after that, Harry tries to convince them that Sirius isn't the actual culprit, it's actually Peter Pettigrew, but no one is going to believe a 13-year-old wizard. But Dumbledore there, like every time he believed in Harry, believes in this time also, and Sirius actually told him whatever happened. And after that, Dumbledore revealed a secret to Harry about how Hermione was going to all her classes throughout the years. So she had a time turner. Basically, you could use the time turner and go back in time or forward in time and attend classes or do whatever. But there was one rule: you should never be seen by yourself. And Dumbledore also gives this hint: if they can do things in the right order, they will not save only one innocent life, but two. So Harry and Hermione travel back in time, and eventually they free Buckbeak before his execution is done. And he's not executioned in this story, he's not executed. And then Harry and Hermione flee away with Buckbeak and wait in the Forbidden Forest so that they can rescue Sirius and go back from there. But Harry has this strong instinct to actually grab Peter Pettigrew, but then Hermione tells what will happen if you see yourself. You will be thinking probably some kind of dark magic is going on, so don't do that. People who have dueled with time have faced terrible loss in their life. So then what happens? Harry and Hermione eventually rescue Sirius, and Sirius flees away with Buckbeak. And that's how the story here ends, and it ends with a very sweet note from Sirius saying Harry, he's thankful for everything, and of course what everyone says to Harry, he looks just like his father, but he has his mother's eyes. And in the lake over there, it was not James who actually came back for Harry, but it was Harry himself, and he realized it when no one came there to cast the Patronus, and Harry had cast a fully grown, enormous Patronus, just how it was supposed to be. And Hermione was actually very amazed to see Harry doing such advanced magic, since she was the bright one in their group. So that's how the story ends. It is my favorite story. I absolutely love this book, and there couldn't be any way possible this will get better. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video and the summary of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Please go and check out the other videos from my channel if you haven't done it yet, and please don't forget to subscribe my channel and click on the bell icon to receive notifications whenever I post new videos. That's it for today, guys. Please like, share and comment. Bye.